It's live now. There's your countdown. There's your countdown.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 4 p.m. and it's May 23rd in the year 2023, and it's an absolute pleasure to bring you this Splinterlands Town Hall. I am Agrode. I'm one of the founders. I'm the CEO, which stands for Chief Executive Overlord of the Splinterlands Company. Super stoked to be here with you guys today. It's my absolute pleasure, an honor, and a delight to introduce my co-founder, Matt Rosen, sometimes known as Yabapmatt. Matt, you want to go say hi?
Hey, everyone. I am not as, energetic as Agrode, but I am still equally, if not more, excited for everything that we're doing here and that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, he's going to dweeb out with us. You don't need to worry about it. We're gonna get in the weeds. We're gonna go fire off on some tangents here and talk about the things that are coming. And joining us today on air, we got a couple regulars and standouts. We got Hardpoint, our CTO. We got Chatter. He is our head of marketing, and we got Nate DOGG. He is our creative director over here at Splinterlands, and Dookie's up here as well. So he's chilling as an aviator today. It's good to, in case there's any turbulence, we can go. We can ask the pilot to calm us all down. But I want to get started right away, and I think the topic that everybody is considering how to go spend their life fortune on is Validators. Matt, do you want to talk about what Validators are, where we are, and what's getting released in a little less than 48 hours? I think we're down to 46 or so.
Yeah, Validators is really the future, kind of how the entire game is going to run. And, ideally all future products or games that we might do here. And the idea is to have, first we're starting with the Splinter Shards token. So that's what's being worked on right now. And the idea is it'll be open source software that anyone can run anywhere around the world and independently validate all of the transactions relating to the Splinter Shards tokens. That will allow a delegated proof of stake consensus system similar to that of the Hive blockchain or other blockchains like EOS, for example, where players with staked SPS tokens can vote on validators who will be responsible for the funds in the SPS DAO or foundation that can be used for, whatever the token holders, want. There'll be a proposal system where anyone in the community can propose, changes they want or use of those funds. And then if the vote is passed, then, the funds get sent to where they're supposed to go. And the validators that are voted on by the token holders kind of make that happen. So it's like a huge step, towards building a distributed gaming system, which would kind of be one of the first of its kind and really giving all the control over the SPS token initially, but ultimately more of the product over to the user base and the token holders. And, the first phase of that is kind of starting on Wednesday, where there's going to be a license sale. And I hesitate to say like we're doing a license sale because, the Splinterlands, the company, is not the one doing this. It's really the Splinterland, the SPS Foundation or DAO, is offering these licenses that will allow people who run the software when it's available to earn SPS tokens for running that software and for helping to validate the network.
And vouchers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, SPS and voucher tokens, and yeah. So none of the sales from this from these license sales are going to Splinterlands, the company. We've announced that 80% of the SPS is going to directly just be burned, and 20% is going to go back in the DAO to help continue providing rewards in far into the future, and all the vouchers will be burned too. So it's really um, it's beneficial not only to buy the licenses because you'll be able to earn SPS from them in the future, and the licenses will also be NFTs that can be resold. So if you purchase a license and you don't end up running the software or whatever, you can resell your license to someone who wants to buy it on various markets. But also it's beneficial as a SPS token holder, because the more license sales there are, the more SPS is taken out of circulation, which should be very helpful overall. So generally for anyone who's an SPS holder, like most of you in the audience and us on the call, it's pretty exciting, and I think it'll really help us get a lot of nodes to be run all over the world, versus in a lot of delegated proof of stake systems, there's really a very small number of nodes that get run because it's only the small number of people that can really get voted in to be the top block producer or validator. But here, the licenses actually provide incentive for people who may not care about or may not be able to get votes from SPS token holders in the community. That doesn't matter. They can buy licenses and still have incentives to run the software, and really distribute this system as much as possible.
So there's probably going to be not too many maxis that are in the audience, but let's talk a little bit about why we did. Why aren't we doing proof of work? Why are we doing delegated proof of stake? And then tell us a bit again, just like how the licenses work. I mean, if I'm not in the top 20, can I still earn? If I'm do I have to run a node? Can somebody run it for me? I'm a little bit dev scared of having to run a Dockerized container. I might not have ever heard those words before. Can you just kind of talk somewhat about the technical choices that we made, and then some of the logistics of how this would actually operate after the pre-sale goes live?
Yeah, I mean, as far as proof of work and delegated proof of stake, I mean, mainly proof of work wouldn't really work with this system, because with proof of work, you need to give all, or at least the vast majority of the new token issuance to the miners, because, to incentivize them to run the expensive hardware and the electricity costs and everything. So that in proof of work systems, you don't typically have reward pools that you kind of see in games or DeFi applications. So that doesn't really make sense. So in a proof of stake system or a delegated proof of stake system, then you only need a small portion of the rewards to go to people running the software to distribute the system, because it doesn't have very high costs to do it. So that's definitely really the only way that kind of makes sense for a system like this to work. And as far as what's required to actually run the software, I mean, we're in the process still of building it out and getting that setup process ready. Our goal is ultimately to make it as easy as possible. So initially it'll be what Agrod mentioned is a Docker container that you can run typically on a Linux system. So you may need someone who's a little more technically savvy of like setting up and running a server. But our goal is, in the not too distant future, to have just like Mac OS and Windows software that you can run. But again, you're going to want this to be on a computer or a server that's just running 24/7, because if it's not running, then you'll potentially miss out on rewards. So ultimately, it's probably better to find someone that can just run it on a server somewhere, and a hosting provider. And we're going to really work on making it as easy as possible to set that up. It's also not one license per software instance type of thing. So you'll be able to use multiple licenses with the same software that's running. So the idea is you can hold multiple licenses within a single Splinterlands account, and you'll basically link a Splinterlands account up to the software, and it'll just utilize however many licenses are in that account that it's been set up with. So, if people want to set up pools, if someone's running the software and, other people who don't want to run the software, don't know how to, can contribute licenses, and they can figure out their own rewards distribution. But then, that it's up to each individual pool or person doing this to decide how they want to set it up, how they want to distribute rewards. As far as the system is concerned, for each license, you'll be able to earn a certain amount of SPS by running the software, and that'll just be given out directly to the account that the software is running under.
So high level, how much SPS is available for like earning, and where's it come from?
The SPS, I think the total amount for the licenses is 3.25 million SPS a month. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so yell if I'm wrong there.
I seem to recall it was 3.75.
3.75 total, yeah, but 10% of that goes to the elected validators.
Right.
So there's two completely separate things here. So and you can earn in two different ways, and you could do both if you want, or just one. So you can have people with staked SPS vote for you if you're running the Validator software, and then you can participate in the delegated proof of stake system and earn rewards from that. And 10% of the 3.75 million a month reward pool goes to that. Separately, if you just purchase one of these licenses and you're running the software with that license, then you can earn from the other 90% of the pool.
How is it determined who will get? What is there, like a lottery system? Am I guaranteed some every single time? Is it with every block? Like, what's the general pace of earning?
For the licenses, it'll just be that amount split among all of the active licenses in the system. So, if 1,000 active licenses are being run, then the total pool will be split among those 1,000 licenses. And then, if it increases to 2,000 licenses, then half the amount will be given out on a monthly time frame to each license. But the idea is, as more licenses are sold, more SPS is burned, and hopefully, the price will increase to kind of offset the fact that there's more competition, I guess, for it. The voted validator side in the delegated proof of stake system will be random for each block on the Hive blockchain. It'll randomly pick which validator gets assigned that block based on the amount of staked SPS there is voting for them. So
in the Hive witness system, everybody that's in the top 20 gets paid the equal amount. Is that not true in this Splinter Shard system?
Yeah, that's not how I was planning to set it up. It was planning to just be like, the more SPS you have staked and voting on the more staked SPS you have voting on you, the more blocks you will be assigned to validate, and the more rewards you'll earn. So it doesn't matter if you're in the top 20 or anything. Like, just the more staked SPS you have voting on you, the more you can earn. Now, obviously, none of these things are set in stone, so it's important to understand that that's one of the purposes of the whole proposal system and the governance system, is that this is just the initial setup that we plan to release, and then after that, it'll be up to the community to decide if they want to change anything, and there can be a proposal and vote on that, and then the software can be updated.
So there's a lot to this. I mean, ultimately, and I think you mentioned it, but I just want to double check and re-clarify. What of this part is the most exciting? And I guess, what is the most exciting for you? And what do you, and maybe separately for the players, or however you feel like, what are the groups, or who are the stakeholders, and what should they be the most excited about?
I think the most exciting thing is just simply that this will be, the first time we really allow anyone to participate in validating the system and running the software, which is really the ultimate goal of kind of everything that we're doing here. So, currently the Splinterlands company is the one running the software, and it's still reading the data, off the Hive blockchain. So it's all still transactions signed by signed by the private keys and that we can't fake or change that, and it's independently verifiable. But still, there's this whole other layer of the actual software and the actual code that validates the transactions. So this is going to be the first step in making that open and available to everyone. And then the idea, like, ultimately, if you boil it all down, the idea is that if for whatever reason our company wasn't here, that this could all still continue to run. It's not dependent on us. That's kind of the goal of this, is to not have a centralized organization or entity that this is all kind of hinged on. And this will be the first step. So once these validators are out and being run by people all over the world, it'll still run even if we go away. As long as people want to run this code, as long as there's anyone around the world who wants to run it, this whole thing can still operate. Everyone can use their SPS tokens, stake them, earn SPS rewards and all that stuff. And eventually we want to get to where everything from, dark energy crystals and cards and land is part of this open source code base that anyone can run.
Do you think that, when you get into open source projects, you start oftentimes seeing community developers just start appearing and contribute to the code? Do you see this as an opportunity for the community to chime in and not just, vote which way, but actually code which way we as a ecosystem take the software?
It's the whole idea, right? It's open source, so it's available to anyone, not just to run it, but to also contribute to it. Potentially even fork it. If someone wanted to make a fork of the SPS token, or even in the future the Splinterlands game, they would be welcome to do that, and that would be pretty cool, especially if they had like new good ideas. It's like kind of a way they could sort of experiment with different things, and then if they were good, the community on the original fork with the original game, we may decide to incorporate some of those changes. So I think that's like a key to having healthy innovation in a project.
Okay, so as of in 20, let me get this straight. In 48 hours, or actually just a little bit less, the pre-sale starts. In the pre-sale, I have to spend SPS and vouchers, and I'll get licenses. Those licenses are part of this whole validator ecosystem. And by at some point, you'll release code that I can run on my own server that shouldn't be that hard to run, but that lets me replicate a portion of what the Splinterlands company has been doing. But now we get to go turn that into an open-ended ecosystem. And not only that, I have two chances to earn from that. One, by becoming an elected validator, and based off of the voting power I get, I'll be able to receive rewards for that. And ultimately, my job there is to keep the servers running, be a good steward, and possibly even code new benefits or help recruit players. And then secondarily, if I don't go the elected route, but I'm still running these witnesses or the sort of like validator system, I have earning potential simply just for running the software. And in so doing, I will help decentralize the game, spread out any sort of regulatory risk or, I guess there's security risks that we help mitigate this way too. But ultimately get to maybe participate in the very first truly decentralized game that this planet's really ever seen. Did I miss anything in kind of describing this setup?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, one thing I wanted to highlight is the whole, the reason why we set up the pre-sale versus the rest of the tranches the way we did is similar to what we did with Chaos Legion. There's a number of kind of larger investors in the space that have expressed interest in buying large dollar quantities of these licenses.
That's $1 million plus, right? Like let's put that into some kind of framework. People have expressed an interest in owning $1 million or more of these nodes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but just like with the Chaos Legion presale, where we had the same exact situation, we wanted to first give this opportunity for our player base, who's been around and supported us to this point, to get in before all of that. So that's why there is the voucher requirement and for the pre-sale. and that's to, either you have to have staked SPS for a while to get vouchers, or you need to buy vouchers from the people who have been staking SPS. So that's really like we're saying to the people who are, might want to put in millions of dollars into these things, that they need to wait until after the pre-sale. Or I mean, they can participate in the pre-sale if they want, but then they have to acquire their vouchers and do that on their own. But otherwise, if they want to do just like large bulk purchases with just SPS, they need to wait until our community, all of you, have your chance to participate ahead of them.
And Matt, and Matt, one other thing that I've seen come up a lot is when we do the pre-sale, right? It's only purchasing one at a time, right? We're not letting people buy 500 at a time.
Yeah, that's right. So there's going to be similar limitations to the Waka sale on this pre-sale. And for people who think it's going to sell out as quickly as the Waka sale, I mean, we do hope and expect that it might sell out pretty quickly. But the total dollar amount is much higher. The number of items being sold is much higher. The total vouchers required is much higher. So, my expectation is that it will not sell out nearly as quickly as that, and hopefully everyone will have a reasonable chance to get their licenses in the pre-sale period. But yeah, there's going to be a bunch of restrictions to try to give everyone a better shot. But then after that, it's open game. So if you want to put in $1 million in one go, that's fine. And that's why we have the whole tranche system. As they sell out, it'll keep getting more expensive.
So tell me about the payment options. Can I pay in Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, PayPal? Is that allowed during this sale?
No, I mean, all that stuff is paid to Splinterlands, the company, to buy things that the company is selling, like Chaos Legion packs and land and things like that. But this is not through our company. This is all through the DAO. I mean, we're just doing the software development and setting it up. So that means it's all going to be SPS tokens. So everyone will need to be responsible to get their own SPS tokens and any vouchers that they want off the various marketplaces. I mean, I think we'll definitely offer, to help out people, especially with larger purchases that have difficulty getting SPS tokens. And we'll see what we can do there with OTC trades or whatever. But yeah, everyone will need SPS tokens. They'll need to get them. They'll need to send them into their game wallet. And then they can just use it to purchase on the site, but no credits or DEC or anything else.
Now, when we sold land, like initially it was just an idea, and it was really like a pre-sale in the sense that like we had made zero progress on it at the time that we had sold it. But this is a little different, right? Like these validators, we've made some progress on the validator software itself. Last I checked, it's in a test net and it's operating. Can you give us an update on like technically where are we with the validators? Like what are they running, or what kind of shape are they in? Are they technically done and finished, and we're waiting for something? Are there still details? Like what's the status?
Yeah, I mean, it's all built and working, and we're running it in internal testing, and we're just going through and finding, I guess, all the little things that we've missed and little bugs and little issues, and we're getting pretty close to the end. I think there's only a couple outstanding things that we need to fix in order to get it to the point where we are running it in production. So the initial step is that we are going to run the validator code in production. So all of the SPS transactions will be handled by the new validator code instead of our old code that's processing them now. And that will be something where like players shouldn't notice any change. Everything should just be the same, but we'll be able to actually be testing the code in our live production environment. And after that, then we'll open it up to an open test net where other people can start running it alongside of us, but we'll still be the authority in case there's any issues or things, which we expect there will be some. And then depending upon how that goes, assuming all the issues get taken care of, then it just goes live, where everyone who's running the software will be the ones actually validating it. And we'll be running a copy of the software ourselves too, but we will no longer be the official authority of things. It'll be everyone, the top elected validators will be the ones validating the transactions, and we'll just be, running the code just like everybody else, so that we can, have the data available for our website and our systems. So, we said Q4 is our estimate of this year for when we hope that will all be live and running in production. My hope, since we're pretty close to that first stage, is that will actually be done before Q4, sometime in Q3. But I don't want to say that, because this is an entirely new kind of thing that we're building here, very different than anything we've done before, and it's in a lot of ways different than even what other projects have done in the space. So there are a lot of unknowns, but it is mostly all built and it's running internally, so it's looking pretty good there.
All right, I've asked most of the questions that I want to get to. Did we miss anything? Anything else you want to cover about validators and the key benefits, or just why people should be stoked and why folks should buy them or interact with them, or I don't know, anything that we missed?
I mean, the main thing is this is your chance to participate in actually running this whole game and this whole ecosystem. So this is your chance to be involved and to help the whole thing run in a really distributed, decentralized manner.
So when I look at Splinterlands, we're running something like 45 different servers to operate this game, right? Between bridges and processes and the game servers and the battle systems. Do you see a day ever when every single process as part of this game has been decentralized and literally every single piece of this is run by the community?
That would ultimately be my goal. I mean, so it's not necessarily that we won't still run things, but the idea is that also other people would be able to run things independently of us too, in addition to us. So, and the amount of servers that would be needed for something like that would depend on how much traffic, each person running this is getting. So it's sort of like, on the Hive blockchain, there are a bunch of different websites and front ends that you can use run by different, independent groups around the world. There's PeakD, there's Hive.blog, there's Leo Finance, there's a bunch of different things. So, ultimately it would be our goal that anyone could, kind of spin up their own Splinterlands front end. And they can, also run the validator nodes, and, they can provide the APIs that people would need to use that front end. So it wouldn't be dependent on us. We would probably still also run our own front end, but, that would open it up again so people could make tweaks and adjustments and changes. And if someone makes a better front end or better changes than, we have on ours, because, we are limited in our resources, that then people might start switching to their front end, and it's something we maybe then would just take and incorporate into our website. So the possibilities are kind of endless. It's kind of a lot to think about, but this is definitely the first step, and a huge step in that direction.
I mean, the dream, one of the dreams to me was I played World of Warcraft for 10 years, and then when I was thinking about land and thinking about this game, I kept thinking what if I could play World of Warcraft, but every single character and every single NPC I met was suddenly somehow a user that was creating something? And that's sort of my impetus for going down this path and thinking through all these pieces. And I think Matt made me start thinking even bigger of what if every single part of this game was run by a human, not just, not just the characters you interact with, but every single back-end piece of software. And then really what happens if we could go get 50 different companies running slightly different versions of Splinterlands on their websites, and they can get paid and they can earn revenue, and that everybody, to me, it was something how can I help people create a business operating in the Splinterlands and really just have as much opportunity as possible by creating some kind of business endeavor with us. And I feel like we're moving in that direction of come participate. Don't just play here, but literally work here and establish here and build the business and build a brand. Does that fall in line with some of what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole goal. And in the shorter term, right, when these SPS validator nodes are out, that will lead into the governance system that we've been talking about for a long time. I mean, it won't actually be that much work to add on the governance system once this whole thing is live. And that's when your SPS, your staked SPS tokens really get a lot of value and a lot of utility. It's where it's sort of starting to turn all the decision making and everything over to the general community, which is really exciting. And that's one of the big things that's different with what we're doing and what blockchain based projects are doing than traditional projects and traditional games. It's like community ownership. It's not just you own your assets, but you also have ownership over the entire ecosystem.
And have you seen that in any other game? I mean, you play a lot of these. I keep my head kind of down, but you interact with a lot of these games and ecosystems. What's the closest that you've seen to somebody being like, we're going to decentralize the shit out of all of this? Like, what's the closest that you've seen to that?
I think a lot of them have similar roadmaps or concepts to what we're doing. You know, I don't know. You know, I haven't seen them actually, you know, get there yet. And I think our validator nodes that, again, should be, you know, definitely in production by the end of this year at the latest, will be a big step further than I've seen any of these other games take. Although I'll mention, you know, Gala, definitely they have nodes that are similar. I haven't played with them much, but so there are other projects here and there, you know, doing similar things, and we're all going toward the same goal. And I don't look at that as competition. I look at that as just, you know, everyone kind of working together to move this space forward. So we might have, you know, get ideas from other projects like Gala, and, you know, other projects might take ideas from us, but ultimately, like, you know, where we can all grow together in the space. What do you think?
Well, so if so we get the voting. One of the reward pathways on the white paper is that we get to stake, but not just stake on the game, or just like right now you just stake or unstake. But we really get a lot more fine control with that in the white paper when we're able to go stake on individual players. Is that tied to the validator nodes? How does the timing of that look compared to, like, you know, I know that's in the white paper. Where does that fit into all of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's not directly tied to the validator nodes. I mean, that's something that could have been implemented still within the code that we run ourselves, but instead, you know, now it will be implemented as part of the validator node code that's distributed among everyone that's independently running it and verifying it. So that's definitely going to be further out on the roadmap, like after the validator nodes are live and after a bunch of the other items. I mean, there's still a number of SPS related reward pools yet to be released, and, you know, partially we were waiting until the airdrop is done, and that huge supply dries up. And a lot of it, we're also waiting until the SPS validator nodes are ready, so they can be, you know, otherwise we kind of have to code it twice, right? But yeah, so there's pools for, you know, guild brawls. There's going to be pools for land. There's going to be battle rewards, liquidity provider rewards, all these different things. So as the airdrop ends and as the nodes start to spin up, we'll start adding in these other reward pools, which will incentivize the activities that, you know, we want to see incentivized to give value to the ecosystem.
Awesome. All right, last chance. Anything else that I missed about validators? Did we hit all the high notes? Are we there?
Yeah, no, I think we covered everything I can think of. I mean, obviously there's more information in the post that we did about them. So if you want to get all the details, definitely check that out.
All right. So you were able to talk about validators a bunch. Were there any other major topic that you wanted to cover before I move on to Hardpoint?
No, let's get moving on. I'm sure we'll cover everything at some point.
Awesome. So Hardpoint, you know, part of this process is that we have not only a robust roadmap with big projects, but there's even some things that aren't on the roadmap. You know, boss fights are kind of in there, and the reward pools and other pieces. You know, how is the game going in terms of, like, our ability to deliver on all these things? I guess first off, is there any major red flag that you would kind of wave and say, hey, we're behind on X, Y, or Z, or how's the product roadmap looking? And, you know, where are we in terms of development generally?
Oh, thanks, Aggie. No, we're doing great. The one thing is, like, we had put out the roadmap, I think it was like 6 weeks ago, and we did an update to it recently. We shifted a whole bunch of stuff around, and guess what? We're going to do it again. We're going to keep pushing that roadmap out. Our goal is to do that monthly, so everybody can see the latest and greatest for what we're seeing. And I'm still working on getting some more details that aren't in the roadmap out there to you guys. Just haven't figured out the right medium to be able to drop it yet. But yeah, everything is kind of tearing up. And the one big conversation we're going to have this week is, okay, we get ranked rewards out. We get Modern and Wild out. We get non-card market out. We get Rift Watchers out. It sounds awesome. Now what are we working on? We've got land. We're like full steam into land. There's tons of stuff getting queued up. We have a lot of great engineers, a lot of great creative, a lot of great talent here that we're going to refocus after these projects drop, because these are the projects that we've been working on for the last couple of months. And so this is kind of like the crescendo of the last, bit for the team. So really excited. And I get really excited because I feel like this is the summer of Splinterlands, where we're just going to be dropping stuff left and right to the community. And that gets me really excited.
Yeah, so we have Validators, rank reward changes, Modern and Wild, and then the tech modernization. Those are like 4, multi-month, pretty big projects that are all like, they're almost kind of like backed up in the queue of like, you can't even drop all of them at once because they affect too many kind of pieces of the machinery here. Like that to me is the ultimate good problem to have of like, oh crap, we've gone from not enough updates to, wow, we really have so many updates going at once that there's like a traffic jam.
Yeah, no, actually, I was talking to the Mavs this weekend, and I said it's just like all the trains are kind of now queued up at the station. We have a lot of stuff that's code complete. It's ready to go into QA and start getting tested, but we have to get this stuff shipped. We have to get it stabilized out in production so we can move on to the next piece. One of the things that Matt and I, when we were talking about this, we want to do is when we're releasing a lot of things that are going to affect the economy, affect the game, we don't want to just throw everything out at once, because then it's hard for us to really measure and understand the changes. Plus, it just gets, every new feature we add adds a level of complexity to our testing, to our ability to monitor things. So yeah, we have a lot of these trains. They're all queued up. They're kind of sitting there, kind of rumbling. We're ready to bring them into the station and get them out to the community, which is super exciting. That's what I'm here for. I'm really excited for the next couple of months. The next couple of weeks is going to be fantastic.
Do you have the roadmap handy? Can you drop that again?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll drop it.
And Unit, just so you know, I'm talking to Unit QM. He's saying no new trains until land, please. I just want you to know that like these things are happening in parallel. We don't have a team. We have like 4 development-led teams and like another 10 teams that are creative teams. There's no place where we can just be like, okay, stop the entire funnel, just work on this. There's way too many teams that are kind of working on that at once. So
I think that's a really big point you make, is that there is a point to where we have too many people working on the project, and we do have to spread the resources out to other things. And as much as everybody would like to just see everybody work on land, like the project there's a sequence of things that has to happen to get it done properly. And that sequence is underway. So we feel really excited about it. The non-card market and tech modernization are 2 projects that are actually sequenced for land. And that provides a good foundation for us to build off of, to build land. We see land as an expansion that eclipses the entire existing infrastructure of Splinterlands. And it's huge. So where we're going with it is to set the right foundation. And so these projects that are coming out are actually the precursor to land phase 1, which is in the next couple of months we're hoping to get out. So really excited about it, but that's where people like, maybe if you aren't as close as we are to the code and to how things have to work, it's really important for us to lay that foundation so we can make this huge build for the product.
Okay. I think that anything else, I asked you a little bit just about like production in general, but I want to make sure that if there's something that you wanted to share that we didn't touch on, that you have a voice here, or you choose your own path.
Yeah, so there maybe 2 things I can touch on really quickly that have been topics of conversations that I'll just kind of byline real quick. There was a bunch of discussions about wind trading in the community a bit ago, and I just wanted to throw a little mini update about that. Is that the team we have a way where we can basically segment the people that we suspect is wind trading into separate groups, and we run regular analysis to do that. In the past, this was just kind of manual. What we did in the last 6 weeks is we've shifted that process to be something that's repeated every so often. Ideally, monthly is our goal right now, where we're analyzing traffic patterns or analyzing players playing, and then we segment them out so that we don't see that kind of win trading that was going on. So that's something that is pretty good. I know a lot of people were interested in finding out like what's going on. Are we doing something? We are doing something. And what you like doing is we don't really want to have to ban people. So we really are trying to do ways to make it a very positive experience for the players. So that's really important to throw out there.
Do you have any numbers or stats that you could share about that? Like, have you seen a X% decrease in, matches that seem to have the characteristics of win trading in them?
So one thing that we were looking at when we made these changes, because one of the things you get really nervous when you start segmenting the player base out is that your time to match is going to increase. And based on our analysis, when we did that change, we did not see an increase of time to match. So that's really big deal, is that the changes we're making are actually keeping the game playable by the players and not increasing match time. Because we want to be careful with that. We can't just go in and exclude everybody and end up in a situation where everybody's match time becomes crazy. So, but no, as far as the win trading, I want to be clear is that we are doing things in a proactive way, even though it's very difficult when you get into the data to prove that someone's actually win trading on the basis that we're doing. That's why we're using lots of analytics to kind of give us a pretty good guess on what will create the most competitive environment for our players. So let's just say it like that.
But does it seem to be working?
Yes, based on what we've seen.
And is there any gut feeling or early assessment? Is it a 1% difference, a 10%? Is win trading, have we decimated it? Like, where's it at?
I don't have the exact numbers with me right now, but I could sure pull them. We have we did the implementation just recently, so we've been monitoring it since. And I don't have the numbers in front of me to share, unfortunately, right now.
All right. Hopefully, we'll stay on top. So I think that was one of 2 topics you wanted to bring up. Was there another one?
Yeah, that was we brought up, and I wanted to address this because a lot of this came up. Is we've been working for the last 3 months on server performance, and we had some major wins on the team with server performance about a week and a half ago. And part of that is we've started putting more rate limiting on our actual production servers because we determined that there was some traffic that was kind of beating up our servers pretty hard. And on top of that, we were also able to identify some critical fixes that we implemented on a weekend. And we saw amazing differences happen. And big shout out to the engineering team and the devs that were involved in that. We were able to reduce some of our costs by up to 50%, which is a huge win for Splinterlands, the company, because that means we can spend that money on investing back into the product instead of having to run the servers. So very excited about those changes. I just wanted to share them with you because they're a big win. There's going to be more changes that are going to be coming for our third-party developers that are integrating. We don't officially have a third-party development program right now. Everybody's kind of just out there, the third-party developers to do it. We do our best to support ones as we can, but we definitely have it in our sights to try to increase our presence and our ability to support them over time. But we're definitely remembering that everything we do here at Splinterlands, when we talk about prioritization, is what can we do that has the biggest splash for the whole community. And it's not just like, hey, how do we solve a 1% problem? What can we do to increase the whole community by 20, 30%? And so that's really when Matt and I are looking at prioritization in the projects that we pick off. We're trying to pick off the ones that we think are going to have the largest impact. And a lot of people may feel that some things we're ignoring. Well, we're strategically ignoring things. That's the way to do it, because we do have as many devs as we hire. We will never have an unlimited amount of resources. So we definitely are working really hard to making sure we level our sights on the right things.
All right. I want to move on. Maybe we can get any last words or anything else? Anything else you want to add? Just general excitement for land, maybe. I hear you're excited about land.
Just a little bit. I need to get more land, but right now I've been hoarding all my SPS and vouchers for Validator node licenses. I got to get on the Validator node license train.
Yeah, you and me both, bud. You and me both. All right, Chatter. You want to go give us a marketing update and just kind of hit us with what's going on?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, still a lot of carry on from last week. So partnerships wise, looking at kind of more stuff with Rad, Potion, stuff with Nifty Arcade, kind of so on and so forth there. Ads scaling up, Google, Brave, YouTube, Snapchat's coming into the mix now, a few others as well. The influencer and kind of content creator activations still ongoing. We're actually doing a huge outreach to both kind of macro and micro influencer scenes right now. So hopefully more to come in the next kind of week or so on that part. And then events wise, huge shout out to Ace of Hearts, him and the Blockchain Founders Fund, who's part of kind of our advisory board, hosted a event in Manila last week. It looked awesome. Hundreds or thousands of people were there. Hundreds of people activating with kind of the Splinterlands booths. So really awesome to see. I know a few of our team members were down there. A few of our community members messaged me saying they showed up as well. So just huge thank you to everyone who came out to the event. But otherwise, lots of conferences getting planned. 16-bit was just out in, I think, consensus, or going to consensus next week, was in permissionless last week. So really cool to see kind of our global expansion starting to happen now, starting to get kind of boots on the ground in other countries as well. But yeah, just really kind of kicking things along. And then as far as Splinterfest goes, we are planning out a whole kind of travel doc right now. So you guys will have a complete guide as to what the travel requirements are, what you need to do to be able to attend, so on and so forth there. But that will hopefully be available by end of week.
I've decided that I want to offer a VIP experience for Splinterfest where I will cook waffles and breakfast for people. Like I will hand serve them waffles and bacon.
How do I sign up?
Yeah.
Makes so happy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that's got to be kind of like part of the VIP experience is like personally served waffles by Aggroed.
Love it.
And just,
if you're gonna make waffles, you have to dress up like the donkey from Shrek.
we might, let's go keep it like a little bit more Splinterlands themed, but I'm not entirely opposed to cosplay. But I don't know. I got to focus on my waffles. I got to make sure that that experience is top notch.
Love it.
Okay. Sweet. Thank you for that. Nate, you hear the dev team talking about validators. You hear them talking about Modern and Wild. You hear them talking about sort of land and land previews. And you hear them talking about, there's one other major project, rank rewards. Like there's a ton going on here. Like what is the creative department doing? What's your focus? Like I don't know. What are you guys on top of right now? What is like the highest priority that you guys are cranking on?
No, for sure. I mean, it's and no doubt the creative side, everybody on the creative side, including myself, just bonkers, excited out of their minds for all the technological advancements, revolutionizing the way that games are going to be, made in the future, just paving the way for everyone else. Where the tip of the spear Splinterlands is in terms of what we're able to accomplish, and due in no small part to Matt and just the platformers team and the other product teams and all the devs. It's just absolutely amazing stuff. In doing so, the creative team is just as passionate about making sure that at the end of the day, when the dust finally settles on the clouds part and the angels sing and the light comes down upon Splinterlands and the world is like, whoa, we want to make sure that that the experience itself is just as amazing as the DeFi elements and the blockchain technology and the decentralization and all the buzzwords we can cram into a game like this. We want it to be as equally appealing for those who either don't know anything about it or just love a just beautiful, engaging, immersive game experience. And so that speaks also to the IP, whether it's the characters, the background for those characters, the depth of the lore, the world building, the music, the animation, all of it. We want the IP to be just as powerful as the technology. And I think that'll, Aggroed, you're always talking about, comic books and movies and shows and all kinds of different media and all their platforms. and a lot of that is fueled by the IP itself, and I think that we're making a lot of strides to making that a reality someday. So we're really excited on the creative side. I know that let me see, where is the latest? Here it is. Since we're talking about it, I'll share the latest lore story that was put out a few days ago. That one's about Portia, one of the members of the Council of Wizards that has disappeared. Of course, she's the only one left, and you got to wonder, why is she the only one left? Where did the other wizards go? And so, there's some mystery there and some questions that have yet to be answered. So I urge all the people out there who want a good read or just want to hear the voice narration and the acting and the music, watch the YouTube video instead. It's all there at that link. But yeah, we're excited, man. All the things that you guys have already been talking about so far, rank rewards, modern wild, validator nodes. There's a lot of cool, exciting artwork and animation and UX and UI that we're working to not only just get out with initial launches, but improve over time. I guess I could share. Let me think. Well, we've been talking a lot about validator nodes. You guys want to see some validator nodes wallpapers? I could do that. The artwork is just amazing. Madi, our art lead, is responsible for these, and you've already seen some of them, but maybe not as a full blown wallpaper. So for those of you guys who like wallpapers, I'll give you some of those. There's one. There's another one.
Can I say that even though there are definitely other projects in the space that have validator nodes and all that stuff, I don't think any of them that I've seen have awesome artwork to accompany it.
Yes, I agree. And Nate, thanks for the backgrounds. I love it. Gotta have more backgrounds.
Absolutely.
Anything that you can share with sort of how we're going to view Praetoria when land comes out? I know that we've seen a couple screenshots in the past, but I think those things are pretty early on. One of the thoughts was that like Praetoria and the map should sort of function to the best of our ability, kind of like a Google Maps, where like you zoom way out and you start zooming into the planet and into the world and into the forest and into the hut. You're actually in the freaking hut when you're like in the land and operating. Anything that you can sort of like drive to in that or think through? Is that still the plan? Is it different? Like how are we visualizing this whole thing?
No, absolutely. I mean, right now, geez, we started like a couple years ago, starting the production of assets for land. So it's been a long time coming. And as we get closer to kind of like putting ranked rewards and modern wild and validator nodes and all this stuff in our rear view mirror, and we're like, okay, where's the next destination? Well, Hardpoint already, Richard shared the roadmap. I mean, land is, it's coming. It's like we've been saying it and people keep asking when. It's like, okay, like I literally have meetings on the books this upcoming week to talk to the product owners and the product teams and the outlines of exactly what assets are needed for this and that to get phase 1 of land pushed out, and we're our full attention. It's been on our peripheral and we've been working on it little by little, but now it's getting closer and closer to like getting the full 100% focus of the whole creative team on land. And when that happens, yes, these town halls are probably going to be filled with more and more cool things to share and assets and animations and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I do believe that the vision is still the same, where we do want that Google Map feel to where, you literally start off at a world view, not even a Praetoria view, a world view where you see all the different continents, Praetoria just being one of many. And sure, Praetoria is where all the plots have been purchased. That's where you can go to see your plots and all that. But I think it will be cool, and I don't see a reason why we couldn't make it so that you can, at least at a high level view, click on one of those other continents, just check out, maybe there's some lore there, maybe there's some artwork or animation to look at, even though you can't actually own land there. It might be kind of cool to kind of like, kind of zoom in a little bit on those other continents. But yeah, on Praetoria, you'll zoom in all the way. all the way down to ground level, all the way into a building once that we reach that stage of development where people are, you know, constructing and leveling up their buildings. So so I'm very excited about that.
Sweet. Okay. Well, we're getting into the world where as these big projects start moving to the sidelines and we get rank rewards out and then we get the Modern vs. Wild out and the tech update goes in, which is really land phase 0 or something, because that's part of what we need to get in. You know, I think all eyes are going to turn to land. And as we're doing this development, I can tell you, you know, just the number of people asking questions in here, they really go back to land. So I look forward to seeing kind of how that shapes up and what we'll be producing. We got a number of people that I want to introduce. I guess I want to do WafflesKitty and get her on here to talk DYGYCON, and then I got a couple devs on the call, so I want to do like a little bit of an introduction with each one of you. And I think they're all on the same team here, so I'm interested to hear them kind of just talk about what their piece of this experience is, and we'll go from there. But so Waffles, why don't you come on, give us like a quick little pitch for DYGYCON and where we're at with that, and then you know, just where are we at, what are we doing, and what is DYGYCON?
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, hey guys, it's Waffles or Sarah, either or. So I am running DYGYCON 9. DYGYCON 9 is happening this week, Friday to Sunday, May 27 to 29. And our live stream, which is on the main date for Saturday, will be 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. We will be joining everybody in a metaverse convention. It's all virtual, featuring crypto projects, presentations, awesome giveaways, and of course, community networking. And it's hosted bi-monthly on the Gamertide platform, and of course, organized by us, the awesome team behind Splinterlands. Some things to look forward to. Let me just send you like one of the most recent blog posts that I made. And it's just like a couple things about what people said about the previous DYGYCON, and then what's going to happen for the upcoming. So we already locked in some sponsor halls. We have, of course, Splinterlands Hall, Atomic Hub, Blockchain Gaming, Castles NFT, Dark Galaxies, EMP, Green Rabbit, and Nexty Blocks all have a sponsored hall inside the space. And each of them will be filled with a bunch of amazing people that you will meet, and as well as a bunch of giveaways that they're going to be giving away at each of their booths or at the awesome swag booth that we have prepared for you guys. I have a sneak peek of the speakers. One of them is our very own Agrod. I haven't posted this anywhere yet because I had to confirm the title of one of the sponsors, but here's a preview of who we have on the lineup for Saturday. And outside of that, we have a bunch of other sponsors who are hosting their own events around the space, AMAs, sneak previews of like upcoming games, some drops and like auction items. So there's a bunch of really cool stuff happening this weekend. Hope you guys can attend.
Oh, awesome. And now all of that was too loud for my ears. Could you possibly whisper all of that to us?
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you're feeling better, WafflesKitty.
Thank you. My voice is still a little bit hoarse. My doctor was like, you have too many antibodies trying to fight stuff. And so it's not like 100%, but it's like 98%. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does seem like you're back to your old form. It's
yes.
awesome.
I have like my energy. I have most of my voice back. It's been great.
Well, glad to hear you're firing on all cylinders. All right, so I'm going to go. Let's go. I'm going to do this in sort of alphabetical order as I see them appear on the main stage list. So Orillion, EatherFeast, and Wolf. So Orillion, hopefully you're there. Are you there? Can you say hi to us real quick?
Hey, Agros and everyone.
So glad you're here. So can you tell us who you are, what you do, and just like what were you doing before you got to Splinterlands?
I was a software developer at the company before I came to Splinterlands, and Now I'm a contractor hired by Splinterlands to do some work, and for Splinterlands, I'm the developer lead for the Validator team. So.
Now, when you were working before, was that a crypto gig, a non-crypto gig? Is this your first like crypto experience, or have you been doing this for a while?
We did. It was a general software company which did a bit of crypto, but this is my first full-on crypto gig.
And so, what do you are you directly coding and contributing to the Validator base?
Yes.
And then what? How big is that software? Like, if I were to go print it as a book, do you have any sense of how many pages it would be, or like, is this something really stupid simple and it's 10 lines of code? Is this massive and it would take up the Library of Congress? Like, where is this thing in terms of size?
It's fairly small, as in I think it would be, if you print it as a book, I think like 50 pages max. I'm not sure. It depends on what the page size is, but it's not a lot of code, and it should be easy to follow for everyone.
So what have you been touching? Like what part of that are you personally building? Is it all of it? Is it just parts of this?
It's generally parts of it. I mostly follow what Matt is thinking of and how to implement it. And so there's some parts like the API that people can query for their balances and stuff like that. And optimization specific actions. So for example, if you transfer some tokens, then that's a specific action in that validator. There's a few actions that we do.
So if we wanted to go expand this thing out to other components, whether it's DEC, NFTs, or anything else that we feel like, do you feel like we have a good base to do that from? Is this sort of rudimentary and a first pass prototype? Is this well developed and we know exactly what we're doing? Like where are we in that spectrum?
We have an extremely good base. So the plan also is to slowly move over more cryptocurrencies other than SPS to this validator system over time. So that's what we're planning. The only challenge that we have is disabling them in the current software, so to speak.
Now, when you're currently running the validator node software, like it's in testnet and you're operating this thing?
Yeah, it's in a testnet, and I'm running it on my local computer and on my Raspberry Pi, so it can run on virtually anything. We try to make it as light as possible so anyone can run it.
Running this on the Raspberry Pi sounds amazing. Did you have to get one of the fancy Pi 3s that have 8 gigabytes of RAM, or is this like a 4 gigabyte RAM kind of thing? Is this like any basic, I could go back to the 1970s and get like a Commodore, or like what does it take to run this thing?
I have a Raspberry Pi 4 laying around, but it's keeping up. So
I want Agra to cook me the Raspberry Pi that I run it on. Well, you want like a Raspberry Pi, or you want like the heat from the Raspberry Pi to help me cook you waffles?
You can take it however you want.
Okay.
We were just talking about making waffles for people. So
I'm going to take it as innuendo, and I'm offended, sir. Okay. Aurelian. So we have the software. It's running. It seems like it can run on a Pi, which is freaking amazing. Do you feel like you have a lot of experience? Do you have any experience working with like crypto noobs or like brand new people that are mining or anything like that? Like, do you have any sense of how hard this would be for somebody new to all this to operate?
Yeah, that was one of Matt's concerns as well. We wrote a very extensive guide, or at least a very clear guide. It's not very extensive since too many steps is too complicated. So it should be simply a question of checking out and following the 3 or 4 steps that we have. You don't need to know anything about crypto. At the moment, you only need to know how Docker works, and then you're good to go.
And for the people that don't know Docker, are we prepared to help them? I don't recall that being all that difficult of a program to. Yeah, I mean, it might be hard to like learn, but once it's done and you're like putting in commands, it's like run splinternode.v0.0, right? And like the commands themselves aren't that complicated.
No, it's definitely not that complicated. we're trying to use the compose feature. So since it also needs a database next to it, it can start there. If you really want to start from the start, it's using that, but you can also run your own database somewhere else if you're planning to be a larger contributor or have a more.
Is there a reason why you're on the Validator team, or is there something that like drew you to this, or is there something in particular you're really excited about Validators? Like,
yeah, I'm definitely excited about Validators, mostly because it's new and we can learn from our past mistakes that we made to make a really great product here that runs well.
what do you think is the coolest part of Validators so far? Either implemented currently or what will be at some point?
The greatest part about Validators is that everyone, when running a validator, can check the game state. So it's not just believing Splinterlands that we tell the truth, but you can see what the truth is. So that's, for any form of democracy or whatever, is great, I think.
Yeah, the transparency is definitely one of the cornerstones of how blockchain needs to operate.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to move on to EtherFeast. But Orillion, is there any kind of last words you want to give us? Not like, you're not being executed or something, but is there anything that you kind of want to share just with like validators, codes, or what to expect shortly, or just anything? What do you want to leave us all thinking about?
What you can do with your own validator nodes. And it's also a great way to create third-party applications, since you no longer have to query or be limited by the Splinterlands servers that Hardpoint talked about earlier, but you can just run your own node, have the game state, and query that. And
do you think that'll make it more easier for the developers to do, more likely that they do it, or like what, not everybody here is a developer, and certainly not everybody thinks like a developer. I mean, once you have this thing in your hands and it's running on your Raspberry Pi, like where do you think that can take third-party developers? What do you think what are like low-level tools that you think might exist that didn't prior to these things being out there?
Yeah, you can very easily develop locally, since you have the game state. You can just talk against it, maybe expand the API that we have, since it's open source. I see a lot of potential as a developer, but as a non-developer, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay. Well, hopefully maybe some of the other guys that are on the team can just talk through or tell us kind of like what, this is a question for the dudes on the Validator team. What if you take off your Splinterlands hat and you put on your like, I'm a cool independent dev hat that knows something about this ecosystem and I want to make a fortune by participating, what kind of things would you build first, or what kind of tool do you think would be most exciting, or what would you develop for somebody? I don't know, just a general concept. But let's go on to EtherFeast. Ether, I think I'm saying this right. Ether. Which one do you want?
Yeah, it's EtherFeast.
Ether. Okay. So do you can you give us your quick, level background? Where did you come from? How did you find your way here?
Yeah, so I used to work at a bank straight out of college. I worked on like account opening for credit cards and checking accounts, savings accounts, and then I moved to a machine learning team. That was interesting. It was like anti-money laundering stuff, and then finally, I got kind of bored at the bank because they had a lot of things that prevented developers from getting work done, just like processes and stuff. And then I was like working on Splinter tools as a side project, and then whenever some changes were going in, I reached out to Richard, and he helped me get like a trial period. So that's how I got here.
So what is Splinter Tools for the people that don't know? What's the website and what can you do there?
Yeah, so Splinter Tools is a website where you can use to like help yourself either train. So we have a training page where you can actually learn from your past mistakes. You can basically simulate a battle and change your deck up, and then try out new combinations of cards or summoners in that scenario. And then there's another paid version where it's an extension, and it like overlays the Splinterlands website, where you can kind of calculate win rate based off of previous historical battles.
So a lot of that has to do with battles in the battle ecosystem. Now you're working on the validator system, and you've done some third-party development. Going back to my previous question, do you feel like, how do you think that this validator code would enable third-party devs like the work that you've done before? Do you see that, does your brain start turning with, hey, now that I have this, running on a Raspberry Pi or on a local server or on some VPS or something, does that further inspire you? Do you think that there's other things that you can do with this? Or are you more inspired to want to build other tools now that they're decentralized and out there?
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, the most interesting thing that I could see is if we take at Splinterlands what we learn from the validator node, and then we make, I think Matt mentioned it in one of our meetings, a sort of reusable validator framework or SDK that we could use to quickly implement new games. And then basically every new game that comes out, third-party developers could interact with all of these different validators and create, I guess, more communities, more third-party developer projects. That's kind of my future thought or goal, I guess.
Yeah, so not just what can we do for Splinterlands, but what can we do for the entire decentralized gaming ecosystem? I call it a Web 3.0 game in a box. How can we create a suite of tools that we could open up to other intellectual property and say, come build here, build your unique ecosystem, build your unique gameplay, build your unique rewards, build your unique players and ownership and all that. I really, I think you're right that this validator system as a basis, as the starting point. Imagine if every game that gets created starts with validators as V1, necessary. Why would you even play that stupid game? It doesn't have validators like that. Yeah. I mean, that to me is definitely one of the future use cases of this thing. And I'm hoping that every single time that happens, they swim in our pond, right? Because it's not like validators and as we implement them are going to be available everywhere. It's really just in this ecosystem by the Splinterlands team and the third-party developer community that's part of it. And I feel like this is one ticket that we all get to ride together, and hopefully it brings in some amazing opportunities. Okay, so you're building some tools. How did you what is your current gig? Are you directly contributing to this validator code? And if so, is there a piece that you built that you'd want to talk about?
Yeah. So I've only been on the team, I think, for a month and a half. But I was able to help out on the voucher distribution, actually. So I think we needed to change the way the vouchers were being distributed so that we could more easily integrate it with the validator nodes. So I had to make the change within the original code base and then also within the validator code base. And then, yeah, we've done some stuff with whenever I first started, I think there were 80 unit tests, and now they're 320, maybe more now. So we're definitely trying to make this a very clean, nice system that people can easily pick up and run themselves.
I mean, you've been part of this and you built third-party tools, could you see how you could use this as an SDK to build brand new games from?
So I think if we take what we learn, or if the team takes what we've learned from implementing the validator nodes, and then we export that into a some sort of library or SDK so that other people can, or internally or externally, we can make new games or new systems. Because I think there's a lot of good knowledge that Orillion and Word Empire, some of the other teammates have created, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to make sure that Wolf gets a minute here too. Anything else that you want to share with us? Any kind of vision for the future or something that you're passionate about this particular thing? Anything that you want to leave the audience with?
I don't know. No, I'm good. I don't know.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on, though. Yeah.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for coming on. All right, Wolf, are you there?
Yes.
All right. So people might know you from the Steam ecosystem or the Hive ecosystem. Do you want to tell us who you are in that context?
Yes, sure. Hi guys, I'm Wolf or Timo. I'm known on Steam or Hive as the Real Wolf, or that's my account. I'm here since 2017, so I've been through all of the ups and downs with net and non-net and Justin, and now we're here. So yeah.
So you're for the folks that are not familiar, Hive is a fork of Steam, and Hive is a delegated proof of stake ecosystem, and it has 20 witnesses that are kind of like block producers or something akin to validators that are actually building this chain. And Real Wolf is operating one of the servers that's in the top 20, that's in consensus, that's able to go sort of dictate how the Hive blockchain will function and what code runs on it. And so it's hard to think about somebody that might be a better fit for helping us to develop a validator system for Splinterlands. We don't want it to run exactly like Hive, but we have certainly taken a huge amount of inspiration from how Hive operates. How does that experience of being a witness and a developer play into how you have been either shaping or discussing or coding the whole validator ecosystem?
So when I joined the team, much of the code was already written. So I can say that the current team is very capable of creating the code for the validators. But I think my experience as a Hive witness is indeed helpful, at least also for the future, simply because, or rather the idea of SPS validators was also the reason why I wanted to, not the reason, but it was a big part of why I wanted to join Splinterlands, because this brings it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, well, let's go talk about one of the things that you do want to build with us. When we first started talking, I call it a game mode, but you had like another game mode in mind for Splinterlands, right? Do you want to talk about that at all? Of sort of like, here's one of the future projects that at some point in the not too distant future, I hope that it's something that we can work on. So what's kind of the vision?
So what I'm currently doing with Splinterlands is that I'm shaping some of the Hive tools we need, but my overall vision, also being a gamer and loving the Splinterlands ecosystem, is to create other game modes which isn't just focused on card play, because I find this sometimes a bit difficult for me. I'm more of the a different kind of gamer. So there are players like Bubka who are very, very smart, and oftentimes feel overpowered or overplayed. And I would like to have different game modes, like auto chess, and that was an idea I had. So my vision is to have like the Splinterlands assets to be the core set, and then to have different game modes on top of it.
And that, the land is really one of the first ones of those, right? Like land is an entirely different game mode where it's not just simple card play, but how you build resources and what buildings are you going to create, what order you're going to do that in, what resources you're harvesting, and then what you're going to use or what you'll make. And then after you've made these kind of items and spells, what we're going to do with them. So that's sort of like, it's not a full different, the ultimate is not a full different game mode, because we want to integrate spells and items into just the standard gameplay. But certainly operating this entire land ecosystem feels like a pretty different game than what we've been doing in Splinterlands. Yeah, I mean, to me, we got to kind of like build this foundation. And then oftentimes building the foundation usually means that there's a couple steps in the middle of just like, I think land's a good example, where before we can roll out land, we have to go roll out, the non-card market. And before we can roll out the non-card market, we have to make sure that the market can handle the number of transactions that we're going to add. And so you have to go do some like deep diving into like hardcore back-end coding to make sure that the damn thing works. And then after you do that, then you can start adding on other layers of technology and other modes of gameplay. Like for some of these other game modes that you're talking about, how much of that do you think would be already present, and we just kind of have to do stuff on the front end, or do you see this as like a whole back end game code change, or I guess give me some of your thoughts on like what the scope of the project would be after you've been here for a while.
So the good thing about Splinterlands is that much of it is running on the blockchain, right? And once we've got the validators, then a lot of this stuff is handled via the validators. So for a game, I would imagine that a lot of this would work on the front end, but the back end would share a lot of code would be shared. And in regards to the to the new code, I can fairly certain say that the wait is going to be worth it. So I know it's tough for everybody to say to see the roadmap and think, oh, we have to work on this before we can release land, but it's important because otherwise we would have to redo a lot of things, and this is a marathon, not a sprint. So yeah.
Do you feel like you could? So if we brought you in, 6 months ago, I forget how long it's been now, but you got here. Looking back, do you think you could have just started building this other game mode first? Or do you think that you needed to do some of the changes that we've been making before you could implement that other game?
So the funny story is that I actually joined like half a year ago, and then I went back to my own project, and then I joined back like 2 months ago. And in between the time, the team grew extremely, and it's now at a state where I can fairly certain say that I would be able to build this now much better than before. So if I would have joined before, like half a year ago, then we would still miss a lot of the groundbreaking stuff which we are building right now, or which we have built. So yeah.
So with this, would you integrate this validator software into your future game mode? Like how does the validator play into other modes of play? How do those two things interrelate?
It's like the skeleton of any Web3 game. So Splinterlands works, but it's like Matt says, it's a security that the validator brings, and without such a system, it's always going to be centralized in some parts. So the validator is a huge important step into a truly decentralized game. So imagine World of Warcraft, but it's owned by the players. And imagine you would be saying like, oh, I've been playing World of Splinterlands, and people would be impressed because you can actually do something with your assets instead of like World of Warcraft, where you waste all your I've wasted so many years and I don't have anything. Like it's gone.
So how do you if we so if we make some other game, like, you think the assets will live on that validator code and the rewards distribution and other pieces? Like, is that the vision now of how we can take some existing assets and maybe some new things that we add into the ecosystem, put them all together, have it live on a validator node and play out in new formats? Is that roughly the kind of like high level guide of how we build new projects into this?
That's a very good question. I would say that the validator or the assets or like the validators are important because they give the proof that you own the asset. So what would be cool is if maybe your asset would grow in power the more you play on different game modes. And that's only possible if there's one center, like one core, like one truth, and that's a validator.
Awesome. Okay. Anything that you want to leave us with? Just kind of thinking about, why is this cool? Why is this project worth building? Like, what do you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I think the validators are going to make this game truly epic. They're important for the long-term success, and I want to leave this town hall with a shout out to my German guildmates from the Legendary Dragons or the Legendaries. I'm a gamer, so yeah, it's amazing to work and game here. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you're here, Wolf. And thanks to this whole Validator team. Matt, you've been working with these guys. Anything you want to add, kind of having heard from some of the developers about what they're thinking or what they're doing? Some of my questions, like anything strike you or anything that you want to kind of bring up about this that sort of future looking of like, what do you think? How will validators be integrated 5 years from now? What would a fully functioning ecosystem relying on validators look like?
Well, I would say that validators are really only one part of the whole thing that we're actually building. I know it's a really important part and the one that's like in the forefront right now with the license sale. But what Wolf didn't really talk about a lot is that like his actual major focus on the team is around the like Hive blockchain account and key management stuff that we're doing. And I think so like validators are really important, obviously, to have all the software be open source and be able to be run and independently verified by everyone around the world. But I actually think a number of products have things like that, or they if they run on a smart contract chain like Ethereum, or many others, then their validators are essentially the smart contracts code that are running by the blockchain. But I think actually the whole package that we offer around the Hive accounts with the different keys and different permissions and account recovery, and all that stuff, being able to lock assets and help prevent them from getting stolen. Like these are the things that I think put together with the validators make the whole package of what we're trying to build really unique. And it's a lot of times like I try a lot of the blockchain games in the space, and a lot of them it's difficult even for me to get involved, and you have to get your wallet set up, and you have to keep your keys, and if your keys get hacked or you lose them, you're kind of out of luck and nobody can help you. You have to get the token for gas fees. It's like a whole project. And I think the way that we're going about this whole thing to make it as easy as possible for non-crypto people to participate, but still have it operate in a decentralized fashion is really the core of this whole thing. And so that's what Wolf is primarily focused on. That aspect of it is like using the Hive blockchain and all the features it has on top of the new validator code to make this, like you talked about, blockchain game in a box experience.
Let's see. So you talked a little bit about Ethereum. Like, if you could go back in time, would you put this game on Ethereum, or would you? Do we do the right thing building here? Like, what advantages do we get by being like built on Hive? Like, what are the key things that we look for in our blockchain and what we're built on top of?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not Ethereum. Obviously, when we launched, it's the 4-year anniversary coming up this weekend of Splinterlands. Ethereum was really the only other option. Now, even though it's been 4 years and there's so many other blockchain options to look at, we still haven't really found any that kind of offer, kind of out of the box all of the benefits that Hive does to be able to provide the user experience that we're going for. And it's been a learning experience for the past, almost 4 years. We didn't necessarily know all these things ahead of time, and we sort of been discovering, hey, like this is actually a lot better, the way Hive does things and originally Steam did things. So, we're always keeping up to date on all the new platforms and things that are being released and how they work. But still, Hive really provides everything that we need to build the experience that we want to build. And I think what we can ultimately offer is a much better experience than any other blockchain gaming project that I've seen out there yet. And we still have a lot of work to do to get there, but I feel like we're finally very clear on what we need to build and how it should work. And now we've just got all these great people, some of whom you just heard from just now, to actually go make this happen.
All right, rock on. All right, so I want to go turn this over. Rondon, I don't know how you want to do this, but we're supposed to go out to Splinterlands TV. So we've talked a ton about validators, and sort of that's the key part of this town hall, and someone talking just about the future. But now I need to go move us back into the present. We got to talk a little bit about Splinterlands TV and give some shout outs. We have a page of questions to go through, and then we'll open it up to the community for what's on their mind.
Well,
Ron, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm not going to keep you guys long, but hopefully everybody here in the audience is aware that Splinterlands does have a second Twitch channel. That's not Splinterlands official. It's called Splinterlands TV. And you might notice a lot of these people here in Discord with the yellow names. Those are the Splinterlands TV streamers. And we are working and gearing up for 24/7 Splinterlands content. We're going to try to take over Twitch. But on our way there, we're doing a bunch of cool contests. We're doing a bunch of giveaways. And this week, we had a clip of the week contest. And we picked a winner. And what I want to do is I want to share the clip with everybody here. You in Discord, you're only going to be able to hear it. Those on Twitch and on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. But yeah, this is Luke. Luke, okay, so let me give it a little bit of backstory. Luke does a lot of challenges. He does a lot of gameplay, and he's quite a lot of fun to watch every Tuesday U.S. time. And you know what? He beat me. He beat me fair and square. But the way he beat me was really, really exceptional. And so one of our users clipped it and submitted it to the Splinterlands TV Discord. Now, that's not the Splinterlands official Discord. It's a separate one where we have the clip of the week contest. So if you guys want to participate, win packs, that's where you'll need to go. You just go to splinterlands.tv/Discord and you can get there. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to play the clip that won this week.
Make the madness stop. Okay, Crawler's double heal, baby. You got this. Put him down, baby. Put him down. Come on, Crawler's the double heal. You can do it, baby. You can do it. Come on. Let's go. What? 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 Yes! Yes! Yes, baby! Let's go! Cross to take down the cube! The Lion's Den prevails against the wrong! Woo! Let's go!
So that's just a little.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's just a little taste of the fun we have over there on Splinterlands.
I couldn't even
TV.
see any of that, but just the vocals alone, that was awesome.
Oh, that's just a little taste of what we have over there. And guys, we're ramping up. I've been interviewing people all week. Last week, we're going to be adding a bunch more people. The schedule is going to be getting filled out. You guys just wait. It's about to pop off over there. But on top of that, just one more thing I want to quickly mention. Besides the clip of the week contest, we also have a streamer spotlight where we give the streamers a bunch of packs and they give them away on their stream. So this week will be Jim Morgan, aka Moo Killer. We have Crypto Crazy, and we have Commander Bawong. Those three will be giving away packs. So you guys got to check them out. Go to splinterlands.tv for the full schedule to see in your own local time when they'll be on. But that's all I have to say. That's all the interruptions I have for today.
Ron, how many streamers do we have now? And how many hours of stream is that?
We have about 30 streamers, which accounts for about 58 hours of stream time a week.
That's amazing. And then how is the Twitch channel coming? It's primarily on Twitch, right?
Yeah, it's only on Twitch. And it's steady growth. We've gone from absolutely nothing to, I think we're about 1,000 people right now, 1,000 followers at this point.
I mean, that's double from the last time I asked you. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite at 1,000. We might be at 900 right now. I haven't looked in a couple of weeks, but it's just steady growth. Everybody out there, though, if you want to go out there and follow us on Twitch, pump those numbers, get our algorithm training. That's the whole point of this, is to basically kind of be a modifier to help both, not just Splinterlands TV, but all the Splinterlands streamers. So when people go to that browse category, they will be more likely to see Splinterlands the game in the browsing.
That's awesome. Yeah, every time you come on to go talk about this, or anytime a streamer comes on, let's make sure that we know the number so that we can always talk about this is where we were, this is our growth, and this is how this is going. Because I think that's the starting point of this is always the hardest. Grinding from zero is brutal. Going from 1 million to 2 million is like way easier than going from 0 to 1 million. So we got a lot of grinding left to do, but I'm stoked to see this thing get a move on and streamers hitting the Twitch streams.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm super excited about this as well. It just keeps coming together and keeps getting better and better. We keep adding more and more features, more and more like subscription tier stuff, just all the fun stuff that comes along with Twitch streams. The streamers are getting more and more confident, more just better at what they're doing. And together we're sharpening each other's swords and growing at an incredible pace.
That's awesome. Nice work, Ron.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
I'm going to go switch into questions. So if somebody could drop the questions list, there's only a page of them. So thank you, Bulldog, for doing that. So here we go, starting off validator nodes. Regarding the roadmap, what does validator code complete and testing mean for Q1 of 2023?
If that one's for me, I'm not sure. The initial SPS validator nodes that we've talked about, our plan is for Q4 of this year for that.
Yeah.
I'm not misunderstanding something that might
There
be a
was
mistake.
one where we had an earlier.
No, that's later.
Earlier. Oh, that's later.
Yeah, 2023 Q1. No. Matt's saying it's going to be done in Q4, and then we're hoping for Q3. So
I know what it is. So let's explain. So SPS. This is something Matt. We can dive into this a little bit. So
I see it now. Yeah, go ahead.
So anyway, what we did is there's actually more than just SPS in the validators that we want to do. So SPS, Matt was mentioning the one thing we're working towards by end of year is to be able to run all of the SPS validation to be done on these nodes, and that's the first step. The second step is there's a lot more that we're going to be moving out to validators, and that's what we're calling the Splinterlands validators, and that's like running a lot more actions and stuff there. Matt, maybe you could give a highlight of some of the big things that you'd like to see us move into the validators past SPS.
Yeah, so initially on the roadmap, you can see for Q4, there's SPS validators. That's what we're talking about here. And then later on in the roadmap, which I don't think is specifically in Q1, but just maybe potentially like later, Q1 or later, is adding the rest of the Splinterlands assets into validators. So that mainly includes dark energy crystals, cards, lands, basically all of the assets, not just SPS, moving over to the validator system.
Awesome. How will you prevent people from writing a script to automatically purchase more validator nodes than those buying manually?
I mean, ultimately, we can't really, prevent people from scripting things and automating things, but, we're going to have similar types of restrictions as we had to the Waka sale that worked pretty well, and it limits the amount that can be bought and how quickly. Again, with the fact that there's significantly more dollar value and more items than the Waka sale, my hope is that that everyone who wants to, whether doing it manually or automatically, will be able to get in and get some validator nodes in the pre-sale phase.
Okay. And then, have any large guilds investors showed interest in acquiring licenses? We talked about that a bit on the show, but do you want to go add in anything there?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely had some interest. I don't know for sure that it's going to happen, but there's definitely a number of groups that, in the potentially millions of dollar range that want to acquire the licenses. But again, they will have to wait until after the pre-sale. I mean, unless they want to go get vouchers. So, everyone in the community here who has their vouchers has, the opportunity to get in before them.
Are rewards for validators set in stone, or could they be changed by the company or SPS holders?
I mean, generally everything with the whole system is open to be changed by a vote of the SPS stakeholders when the governance is released. So, it's not something that's necessarily just like a 51% vote type of thing. It can be something where you need like an overwhelming majority So it'd have to be something like where there's really a significant issue with the system, and then the community can vote to change things. So nothing in this whole thing is set in stone.
Can we get a validator title for those who purchase on day one?
I didn't plan on doing that. I mean, there's 2,000 validator nodes available. That would be 2,000 of the titles, which is significantly more than any of the other titles. And I really want titles to be something pretty rare and special. And generally, I think there's already more than enough incentive for people to get in during the pre-sale. So I don't think that's something we're going to do. Also, because it's getting close and we don't have time to implement new things right now.
Rewards update. Do you have any estimates on what percentage of teams currently using starter cards, or how much of the DEC earnings are going to teams using starter cards before this change?
I don't have any numbers on that, but from everything I've seen, it's a lot. So, my expectation.
Do you think it's more than 50% of the rewards?
I don't know, because I mean, it's definitely a huge number of accounts, but those accounts are mostly in bronze, and getting only a small portion of DEC as compared to accounts at higher levels. But I think generally we'll see higher DEC earnings for accounts that are using actual cards after the change. But a lot of this, we're going to have to see, and it's hard to guess.
All right. It looks like it's very punishing to be in the bottom of a league now. For example, 10 wins with your focus at the bottom of Silver 3 gets you only a single daily chest. Is this intended to make sure people only increase leagues if they feel they can compete?
Well, I mean, ideally, the whole idea of this is that you can get more than just one chest at every league. So you can get roughly the same number of chests. No matter what league you're in, but the chests will be, will have better things in them at higher leagues. So yeah, I mean, you definitely would not want to increase to a higher league if you're going to be losing all the time in that league, because win rate's going to be much more important here. So, I mean, in general, everyone who's using real cards should get more rewards, more chests, and then, people can experiment a little bit to see what league they should be playing in, what works for them.
Why is the power cooldown transfer going away? This is an easy exploit for those running multiple accounts.
Why is the power cooldown transfer going away? I'm not sure what that means.
I think it's when you rent cards or transfer cards, there's a cooldown timer on cards, which I think is generally associated
for
with
the daily quest. I think that there's a cooldown for using cards in battle. That's not going away, but I think there was a separate thing for the daily quests. I think so. First of all, we're going to see a lot of things are going to change, when this goes out at the end of the season. So we're gonna release this. We're gonna see what happens. I've mentioned a bunch of times, this is not going to fix everything. It doesn't mean there's going to be 0 exploits all of a sudden. But since so many things are changing, it's really hard to guess exactly what's going to happen and how to be able to try to fix it ahead of time. So what's going to be released, next week at the end of the season is not going to be the end all thing for how this is going to work. So we're going to see what happens. We're going to see where the issues are, if there are any. We're going to see what the exploits are. We're going to look at what's happening, and then we're going to figure out the best way to address it.
Alrighty. Could it be possible to get different focuses for Modern Wild when it arrives, so we can have the option of playing 2 splinters throughout the day instead of just one?
No, it's going to be the same focus across Modern and Wild, but I definitely, one of the changes I want to do is I want to add a lot more different focuses than just splinter focuses. So we had the sneak quest and we had the snipe quest, and those were interesting. And I think going forward, again, after this is all released and we see how it goes for a little bit, I want to add a whole bunch of different types of focuses, maybe 10 or 20 more potentially, with using monsters with different abilities, and it could be sneak and snipe is together, different things like that. It was just a lot to get in all with this big change, there's so much going out already, so we just opted to go simple and just have the splinters for the start. But I definitely want to have more interesting focuses going forward.
I'd love to get Weirdbeard on that and be talk to the community, see what focuses they want, and let's go get as many of the player suggested ones in that make sense as we can. All right, question. Would you ever consider staked SPS playing a role in battle earnings for DEC focus points or determining how quickly ECR is drained? Or, when we get to ranked reward payouts with SPS, is staked SPS going to play a role in that?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that a little earlier with the SPS white paper and plan that where you can like stake SPS actually on players, and that will make the SPS staked on you as a player affect the amount of rewards that you get. So that'll be a little further down the line, but yes, 100%. I mean, staked SPS is probably going to end up playing a role in everything in the game.
All right, miscellaneous. Why don't challenge battles in Bronze Novice follow the same rule set mana patterns as the Bronze Novice rank?
I'm not sure.
We might just have to update it. I don't know how long it's been since we touched challenge battles, but that's something that we should look at. When is an updated approximate release for Modern Wild?
That's a good question. I don't know. Do you have that?
Couple weeks. So the biggest thing that the reason we're not throwing down an actual date on it is because Matt just laid out exactly what we're doing. We're going to put rank rewards out. We're going to get it stable, and we're going to make sure we don't need to do anything quick. But Modern Wild is code complete, ready to go into QA. So we're going to move it into QA and start doing testing. It is a pretty extensive change, including having 2 different queues for players. So it's a pretty big deal. So we're going to be spending a little bit more time testing it in the testing phase, but still it's not expected to take forever. So I'm still saying a couple weeks.
Yeah, maybe like June timeframe.
Byzantinus is asking, that question might refer to the rule set parameters. If I recall correctly, the rule sets are different for lower leagues, but it sounds like they are different for challenge battles versus ranked. Yeah, I think that might be the case. It's not something that I've thought about recently, so we'll have to look into that. We are seeing a large number of packs being opened recently. Will this decrease the number of packs needed for the summoner airdrop since they were increased because packs weren't being opened yet?
No, I mean, it's definitely, I think realistically, we would still probably need to increase, like if we wanted to get the numbers exactly right, we would still need to increase them even more than 25 for each one. But we're just, we've said it's just going to keep that same rate going forward, no matter what. So the next airdrop will be 25 more packs for the minimum required, or for the minimum guaranteed, than the last one.
All right. So for anybody reading questions, this out of all the times and all the AMAs that I've ever done with Splinterlands, these 2 next questions are my favorite, and I'm going to go read them back to back. Please, these are now suggestions. Please don't require vouchers for Rift Watchers, as this will make them unaffordable for new players. That's suggestion 1. Suggestion 2 is please require vouchers for most of Rift Watchers and not just the pre-sale, so we don't devalue vouchers and SPS immediately after millions are spent on nodes in order to earn more vouchers in SPS. This is my ultimate challenge with anything blockchain and DeFi and Web3. And this is ultimately the absolute blessing of this ecosystem, that for every single person that says, I want this, there's somebody else that says, I want the exact opposite. And they're usually talking to me back to back. So this is just amazing. This validates everything. Now, it's very rare that I get to just have this in writing that's public, that everybody can see. But this to me is spot on. I know that vouchers are going to be some part of Rift Watchers. I don't know that Matt and I have consensus or have agreed. I personally think it should be high. I'd want vouchers to be at least 50% of this. And that doesn't mean that it will be, because this is an organization and we build consensus and there's teams, and Matt normally outranks me in terms of hey, when we're building economies around this stuff, I typically defer to Matt. But I'd like to see it high. I think vouchers are a really nice addition. I don't think it should be 100%. I've said 100% in the past, but I agree with the argument that 100% might make it too tricky. But I think it should be more than just the pre-sale. I think it should be a large part of the voucher sale, or a large part of the the main sale of Rift Watchers, but I don't think it should be all. Matt, you and I haven't talked too much about this. Do you have thoughts on, what's your first pass at how many vouchers should be part of Rift Watchers, or how to introduce them in?
So, I mean, as with all of these things, I mean, just general, here's the thing, right? we cannot at all even get close to predicting what will or will not be the case or will happen in the markets and everything, months in advance. So we pretty much always don't we try to avoid 100% saying anything will be this way or that way so far in advance, because if we do that, then it ends up, we get there and then things have changed so much for a variety of reasons, and whatever we thought was a good idea months back would be totally wrong. So, generally we're going to wait until it gets closer to actually releasing Rift Watchers, look at what the situation is with everything, the game economy, the ecosystem, the general market, what, players feedback think, everything. I mean, who knows, for all we know, nodes might not sell out very much. For all we know, they might fly off the shelves. Things are going to be totally different by the time we get to Rift Watchers, which is still a couple months out, 2 to 3 months out roughly. So, obviously there's going to be some type of voucher requirement. What exactly it is or how many, I think it would be just doing everyone a disservice for us to just pick numbers based on things right now when things are going to be totally different in a few months.
Okay, so you can hear there's definitely some difference, and we'll have to go work it out between Matt and I and this whole team in terms of what that will look like. And we'll take feedback, which generally
community feedback,
generally includes completely opposite opinions, and we all kind of have to come together and figure it out. At some point, we look forward to putting proposals in place and then having these things be SBS votes. I don't think we're quite there, but that's the exact kind of reason why we want to decentralize this. So it's not just like, what do I think, or what does Matt think, or what does Hardpoint want, or something like that. But it's really like, what did the community vote for, and how did we get there? 2 last questions, and then we'll go into just some player questions. Can you make further adjustments to guild crown earnings so that the top guilds aren't getting such a high percentage of the rewards? It creates a rich gets richer situation where other guilds can't catch up. Weirdbeard is looking into this and trying to figure out some tweaks. He's not here today, so I kind of want to pass unless somebody wants to chime in. But in general, we're looking at guild crown earnings. Anything else you'd add?
I mean, all I was going to say is just Matt answered this a little bit earlier, but we did make a change just recently to guilds, and so we're still looking at those changes and see how they've impacted the economy before we make additional changes. But it's something we do care about. It's not. There's a lot of good arguments about how you distribute the rewards to what guys, this is the thing. This is important, but it's like when we look at across the board, I was talking to the Mavs this weekend, and we were talking about well, hey, guilds, we need to do this. And we did. We put a big change out in the economy to try to adjust it. But you guys got to realize we do have limited focus. And so rank rewards is something that's going to impact the entire community. And it's not that we're ignoring guilds and tournaments and all these other things that you guys are constantly asking us questions, and it's always good for you to keep poking us about them, but just know that what we're trying to do here is hit the biggest things that have the biggest splash for everyone in the whole game. I think that's the biggest thing here. And with brawls and guilds, it's definitely in our foresights to figure out how to get that working better for you guys.
All right, I just moved away. This is my here's the last question. Can we get a setting where lock cards cannot be combined?
I guess I had never, considered that, but if we have a good, reasonable use case for why that would be helpful, then we can see if that makes sense.
Yeah. So Gene Pool is just now commenting, lock cards can't be transferred or sold, but can still be combined. Currently, the private posting keys allows for all cards to be combined or rented. There are services available, manual and automated, to manage accounts and rent cards. I would like to use these services, but I don't want to risk my cards being combined without my permission. Can we make it where lock cards cannot be combined, or that it requires signing with a different key to combine cards? That's the reason. And he runs the bot golem or the golem renter. I forget what it's called, but
Yeah.
That's it. They now have like $12 million under management of Splinterlands cards, which I think is pretty awesome. And I think that's where that's really coming from. Splinter.rent, I think, is the site.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Okay. I know that we're running late, so not every dev needs to stick around. I want to go answer some of the questions from the community. Hopefully there aren't too many, but I want to do at least 15 minutes of this. So let's go do some community questions. The Dishonesty is asking, what do you think about putting 10% or really any number of the market fees into a special treasury fund and using that to buy a bucket of BTC and stablecoins to be used as a financing method for different projects, or as a feature that provides further value to SBS holders, stakers after all the other SBS pools dry up? Would you use your fat stack of SBS to back such a proposal when we'll be able to vote for it? So what do you think about taking some part of market fees, or do you think that the current like DAO setup already has funds?
Well, yeah, I mean, market fees is one way, but generally, there's going to have to be a DAO treasury management, plan, and that's part of what's going to be part of the governance system, right? So the treasury is going to have a lot of potential avenues for earning, and the community will have to get together and decide what should be done with that. If other tokens should be purchased, should tokens be put in DeFi platforms, yield farming, all that stuff. So I think market fees is one possible option, but there's a lot more on top of that goes into a treasury management.
Question: if you go into the Barron's Toolbox site, baronstoolbox.com, when you view the cards, you can see the awesome animated images that the art team has been working on. Why can't we see those animated images in the main Splinterlands site?
Just hasn't been something that the team's been focusing on yet.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to keep in mind is when I share those animations, keep in mind I'm sharing GIFs. So when the animators export those out, they export them in 3 exports: GIFs for sharing in a town hall, move files for in case we ever create marketing assets with those things like trailers and whatnot, and then finally, what actually gets implemented into the website is JSON code. I mean, it's basically where I am not going to take an 8-9 megabyte animation file and say, hey, let's put like 100 of these on the web page and see how it does. I mean, it's not gonna fly. It's not gonna load very well. So yeah, we just got to take the time to work with the devs to kind of, once that becomes a priority, we'll have the assets ready to go and hopefully create a cool battle experience, including animations and maybe some war cries in there and stuff like that. It should be fun.
Liam, I think this one's for you. Would there be plans to overlap a DYGYCON together with Splinterfest so that those that aren't able to make it in person can still participate in some manner? Also, can players attend remotely with the telepresence? And just want to say, waffles will not be delivered by Zoom.
Yeah, so I don't know about DYGYCON, but we'll definitely be streaming a lot of the events. So twitch.tv is probably going to be the place to be.
Let's see. A question. The power requirements for leagues has not changed for quite some time. With higher inflation of cards moving on, shouldn't these collection power requirements automatically adjust and get higher to maintain a healthy game economy?
I think we're planning, and we announced for Modern, when we do Modern and Wild, for Modern League, the requirements are going to be lower. And in general, but I don't think that they should get higher. I mean, the whole point is to require a certain amount of like investment in the game, right? And we want, if they get higher, then it's going to be harder and harder for new players to ever get into higher leagues, and the amount of investment required to get into higher leagues is just going to get higher and higher. So I don't agree with that, but again, like overall, there are like very significant changes to the entire game economy coming into play next week. And I think we're going to look at that. And one of the things we're definitely looking at after that is collection power requirements and how those should work and how we can maybe change them to address some of the exploits and things. But we're not really going to start looking at solutions until we 100% know what the problems are after we've seen a season or two with the new changes.
Do you think it would make sense to reward validator nodes who participate in the public testnet?
Yeah, I do, and I think we'll probably do something, for those people who participate when that's ready.
Are we starting from bronze next season like it happened on testnet?
No, it'll be normal. You'll drop down to your normal league just like every other season.
Is there a potential for validator nodes to pay out more than just SPS vouchers in the future, i.e. tokens for other games that swim in the same pool?
Well, other games would have their own validator nodes, so it might use the same like core software, but it'd be sort of like a fork, like a different blockchain. So you'd run one validator node for SPS and vouchers and Splinterlands stuff, and if there was something that was like a totally separate game, not just like a part of Splinterlands, it may have its own separate validator software that processes the different transactions for that game, and that would have rewards in whatever token was part of that game. So someone who's running validator nodes could run them for multiple game projects at some point in theory when we get to having multiple game projects.
Gameplay in higher leagues in a certain situation is better to play a lower level monster than a higher level monster. Do you think it's a good idea to implement the option to choose to adjust the level of a card played while submitting teams?
Yeah, that's something that's come up a lot, and it's just never something that we've actually gotten around to implementing like in the user interface. And just going forward, I mean, the cube's a bit of an older card, but like I try to always avoid doing things like that where something will drop down in a stat at max level, and just generally avoiding anything where possible where it's better to have a card at lower levels. That may never be possible to happen in all cases, but that's one of those things that has never been like a high enough priority, and it's not that easy of a project to like put in that option.
Can we have a list of all tourneys with requirements that Weirdbeard promised us a couple of weeks ago? He's not here today, but we'll stay on top of that. Will it be possible to re-roll the focus just like with the daily quest?
Yeah.
What kind of new quest potion will we be getting after this update?
There won't be a new quest potion initially, but I do really want to add more potions in general going forward for all sorts of different things.
Question, Nate, any Splinterfest goodies for those that attend? I guess that's the Liam question too.
I mean,
yeah,
go ahead.
Go for it, Nate.
No, I mean, Matt, I know Liam will chime in on all the cool merch ideas that he has going on. I know Matt has spoken to me privately in DM about something that I'm not going to share. I'll let him share when the time is ready. But I mean, there's lots of cool stuff we're working on.
Yeah. There'll be custom cards. There'll be custom merch. We're going to be bringing in some few vendors and then hopefully a few more exciting things that are still under wraps right now.
Dave has a pretty big question here. We have been led to believe that vouchers were going to be required for Rift Watchers. So now you're saying maybe 5, 10, 50, or 95%. There's a big gap and people are waiting to find out what they should spend their vouchers on. And that gets back to calculating node returns and also figuring out whether to basically spend them on nodes now or wait for Rift Watchers for later. So I guess how can you guide us at all, or what are your thinking around like, there's a bunch of things that require vouchers. How should we think about that given that there are some unknowns in this ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little earlier with the question from the document, but I don't recall like officially stating that vouchers were going to be required to get all Rift Watchers packs. But I guess my thinking at this point is that it would be sort of similar to how we've been doing it for Chaos Legion, where there will be like some initial pre-sale with benefits that require vouchers, and then vouchers can be used to get bonus packs. But again, like we got to see, like all these things could be totally different. I have no idea what the situation is going to be like as far as vouchers and SPS and nodes and all this stuff. in a few months when it comes time for Rift Watchers. So that's what I'm currently thinking now. It could change if the situation calls for it. And part of this is, a lot of these things are unknown. Like I would love to be able to tell you 100%, Dave and everyone else, like this is 100% how everything is going to be. But if we do that, then we like box ourselves into a corner and we kind of screw ourselves. And not just ourselves. I mean, when I say ourselves, I mean the community, right? Is everyone, this if things go well, it benefits everyone and vice versa. So, I can't and I don't want to say right now exactly how it's going to be because the situation is going to change.
Yeah, I guess one of my thoughts here too is like, okay, one of the scenarios is that we do validator nodes. Validator nodes goes well, and it within this, you can buy validators and pay up to half of that by burning your nodes, or not by burning nodes, by burning vouchers. And depending on where that lands, your voucher discount rate could be either $3 in tranche 1, $5 in tranche 2, $7.50 in 3, $10 in 4, $15 in 5, $20 in 6, or $40 in 7. So like if we do something like now, today I commit, hey, we are going to force every single pack to be with a voucher, that might force the price of the Rift Watcher packs to be $15 or more just from the voucher piece. So until we kind of see like what is the pace at which validators are going and where are we with nodes and how many vouchers have been distributed because of the system, like that could have severe consequences. And Dave normally, if you don't know Dave is normally one of the guys that's like fighting for the little guy, being like, these things should be affordable, these things should be good, and these things should, we should be making sure that the minnows that are participating have an opportunity to participate. And crypto is filled with unintended consequences. I would put forcing vouchers for every single purchase as potentially having a negative consequences to one of his like pretty standard goals of, I want to make sure things are affordable. So, I agree with Matt that we don't say today, this is exactly how it will be, because how things look on the ground can change so drastically. Bitcoin could cut in half again, and Bitcoin could be 3 times as much. And, if we're charging vouchers, it could be some extraordinary price. So
here's
we
another thing.
We have to be thoughtful.
Yeah, I mean, for example, depending upon how well the node license sale goes, there may not even be nearly enough vouchers in existence to purchase the Rift Watcher packs, right? If they all require vouchers, which would sort of also be a disservice to anyone who wants to get them. Yeah, and it'll all the value for Rift Watchers is going to go to SPS and the DAO, right? So that would be just like kind of sort of limiting the amount that can go to the DAO and that. So I don't know. Yeah, again, like we have to wait and see what the situation looks like at that time. And we'll talk to the community at that point, and we'll see what it looks like and see what makes sense, that hopefully is the best solution for growing the value of the assets in the game.
Other than validators, is there any other plans for SPS burns coming up?
Well, the plan for Rift Watchers is that all the SPS will go into the DAO. I mean, which I actually think is better than a burn in all cases, because then it's not us saying this is what's happening to the SPS. It's the SPS token holders. So the SPS token holders can decide to burn it. They can decide to hold it. They can decide to sell it or stake it or put it in a liquidity pool or all these different things. So I think it's always better, to give the token holders the option, but it's effectively like burning it in the sense that it'll just be going into the DAO account and probably definitely won't be getting dumped on the market.
What's the status of the non-card market? Where's that in the roadmap? Like, when do you think that might go live, Hardpoint?
So it's going to come out after Modern and Wild gets launched. That's where it is in queue.
So it's, you know, is that end of June, early July? Is that the right time frame to think about?
Yeah, that's about right. So when we get Modern Wild a couple weeks after Modern Wild, actually probably really quickly, because non-card market is actually not technically super complicated. It's just it's work that's closed in and has linked, but its work is linked to the tech modernization. That's why there's a little bit of a sequencing thing going on here. So we've got, if you think about it, we've got a really big splash with ranked rewards, and we got a big technical change with Modern Wild, and then we got another big change with tech modernization. So we've got some big things that we're trying to fit into that station, like I said before. So I'm thinking it's a couple weeks after Modern Wild gets shipped. So that's putting you out into the July timeframe.
Marcus is asking this as a question, but I think it's a request to Nate. Can we get an animated Goblin Thief?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I mean, to tide you over, here's a Venari Crystal Smith attacking.
Nice.
He's cool.
And are we cutting off the questions at some point?
It's already cut off,
Okay.
man.
All right, good. I have to go in a little bit.
Yeah.
I do want to get to everything.
Yep. Is there any tender love and care for the mobile app and site? I'm not talking about bringing it up to date with the reward system in Modern Wild. I'm talking about making it run smoother and looking better.
Well, I mean, we do have to bring it up to date with the new reward system in Modern and Wild, or else it won't work. So that's the highest priority. But yeah, we've mentioned this before, and to reiterate, we do have a team now focused on that specifically. What right now their focus is on, getting it to work with all the new things we're doing. The problem is we're building new things for the main Splinterlands site even faster than before, so they have to keep up with that, and then also hopefully we'll have time to improve it. But that's where we are with it.
Maybe we could get some team members on one of these calls so they could talk about mobile for a bit. Yeah. And I guess that's for both Matt and for Ron to kind of think through. Can we get a promotional tournament where winners get flight tickets and accommodation to Splinterfest? I think that's cool.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Liam, make it so.
Yeah.
Any update on the new legendary summoner stats?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that we should be, I think like next week we should be able to release the stats. But I did talk about, with Tyrus and the Peak Rider that are going to be, out of modern format, I think there's going to be a void in the amount of armor abilities, for the Life Splinter. If anyone wants to read into that at all.
Yeah. That's actually the end of questions. So Matt, we've talked about a lot of things today. I mean, anything you kind of want to, I think this is going to be the last time that Matt's on air for a little bit. Hardpoint, I don't know if you know this. I'm traveling next Monday, so you might be the guy running the show here. So something to put on the radar. But I don't know, Matt. You're going to leave us for a couple weeks or a month or so. What do you want us thinking about? How do you want us to think through development or the product, or just what are you pumped about? Just what do you want to leave us with?
Yeah, it's hard to pick one thing, I guess, but I know everyone, there's what's happening with the mobile app, what's happening with this, how's this. I mean, we really are trying to focus, we've identified really key things that I think we need to do to move this thing forward and really move the needle a huge amount. I mean, I'm looking for repeating what happened last year again this year as far as the growth of the game, but hopefully without all the technical difficulties that came with it. And so our focus is on, let's get these teams that we have now working on those things that will get that to happen. So obviously validator nodes, huge part of it. Fixing the issues with the economy, huge part of that. All the things that we're doing we picked above and beyond other things, like making the battle system look better, or putting more resources into the mobile app, because those aren't the things that are going to 10x our user base potentially by the end of the year. We really want to do those things, and we will hopefully get to them at some point. But we need to keep the game and the ecosystem and the community growing in order to keep our team growing, to keep doing more and more of these things. So like, you know, anyone who's ever run a business knows there's infinite things to do, and you really have to pick the most important things to focus on that are really going to move the needle for our community. It's not just for the business, it's moving the needle for our community. SPS, vouchers, card market, all this stuff. I mean, this is what we're focusing on. It's like, how do we just get more value to Splinterlands assets, because that will get more value to our players and to us. So I hope that everyone can see that the like pace of new things coming out has increased considerably more than it ever was in the past. And so you're seeing the investment we've made in the team and the organization over the past almost year now start to pay off.
Yeah. Hardpoint, anything you want to leave us with?
I think the biggest thing I said before, I'll just reiterate, very excited about the summer, very excited about the things coming out. Really proud of the team for all the work that they've done. Rank Rewards is a accumulation of a lot of man hours from a lot of different people across the organization. I know we get on stream and it's a couple of us talking, but it took a lot of people to pull this off, and it's a lot of brain power that went into it. I just want to give a big shout out to the whole team and just say, hey guys, really appreciate all your hard work. I know the community is really excited for this, and I'm really proud of you guys for what you've done. I also want to give a shout out to the support team, and the community team, as they've been supporting the community all along. Really appreciate both those teams. They've been running really well, leveling up their game. So just big shouts out to the whole team, and super excited to be here with you guys at Splinterlands, and excited to see where we're going this summer. It's going to be the summer of Splinterlands.
Yeah. Ultimately, I'm stoked. I'm thankful for the community. I'm thankful for the folks that help build and support this game. And, you know, I really like this vision of let's go build the most decentralized game possible and put this in the hands of the players and let you guys own and operate this thing. And we'll keep participating. We'll go build a game in a box and make it so that other IPs and other talent and other groups can either riff off of what we're doing with Splinterlands or build something entirely different. We'll dog food that a bit to make sure that it works, and that, you know, you don't have to be Matt Aggroed and Hardpoint and Nate and Liam and like hardcores in this that have been doing this for a while to figure this out, but that, you know, newer teams can get some of the benefit of what we've done so long as they join this whole ecosystem. And hopefully that will come with airdrops and rewards and, other kind of benefits for participating and having been here for a while. So I'm excited about this feature. You know, I think, that who knows what Bitcoin will do, but I think the days of Bitcoin under 30, I think over time will be rare. I have no crystal ball, but as long as governments keep printing money at whatever pace they want, I have some assurance in the fixed supply of Bitcoin that it will become a long-term, very attractive store of value, even more so than today. And with that, I think all the things that we're building, we're in an exciting space, a fantastic space, and that there's just so much opportunity here. And it's a joy to get to do this every day, a joy to get to build here, and a joy to serve this community and spend my hours and days growing this business and helping folks out. We decided during this town hall that we're not going to be doing a town hall next week. We're going to go be with our families and enjoy the long weekend. So we're going to take a 1 week break, but when we come back, we should have some nice data in terms of how Validator's been doing. You know, what does the rank reward situation look like? And hopefully there's some stuff that we can talk about there. So thanks everybody. Thanks for staying a little bit late. Sorry, I didn't perfectly manage the time on this, but glad you guys are here. And thanks to everybody, and thank you, Ron. And I'll see everybody in 2 weeks. It'll be awesome.
Because of the way I got it set up, I can't like talk and let you guys know that we're we're off. So, no, we're not live anymore. Yeah, no problem. Wait, Doogie's still here with his helmet? I thought you had to leave for a meeting. Okay.